Hey, it says the YouTube on now.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, it just started. Hold on, let me press record and then I'll you can go ahead.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Now that we got that started, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is 9:04. Essa, can you take roll, please, of the board members present?
Sure, and just in case if I missed anyone, please announce your attendance, but the ones I have noted is Chairman Don Mende, Vice Chair Gary Mackler, Directors Melvin Kahele, Carol Ryman, Roderick Becker, and Sabrina Nasser.
All right, thanks, Essa. And I see Mike McCartney might be logging in, but when he does, we can announce him. Before we start, I just want to couple of housekeeping. As far as for the board members participating, please make sure that your video is on at all times, so the public can view us. And then I guess keep yourself muted and then unmute when you want to speak or vote. And then if you please identify if there's anyone at your location that will be participating with you at this time. For the record, to state their name and who they are. But if no one's there, we can proceed. All right, so with the names present, we have a quorum. Moving on to item 2, which is the approval of the minutes that was circulated. Can I get a motion to approve the regular minutes for the March 10th meeting?
Motion, Don.
Thanks, Mel. Can I get a second?
Second, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. So for the record, yeah, Mike McCartney's joined in. So is there any additions or deletions to the minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Thank you. Item 2B, the executive session minutes for the March 10th meeting. That was circulated earlier can I get a motion to approve, please?
A motion, Mike. I mean, Don.
Thanks, Mel.
Second, Carol.
Thanks, Carol. Any discussion, any additions or deletions to the executive session minutes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item 3, public testimony. Hi,
Good morning.
Francis.
Yes, good morning, Chair. These are the instructions for providing oral testimony to the board. So anyone wishing to provide oral testimony should indicate that to the board. Oral testimony will be limited to 3 minutes, subject to the discretion of the chair. Oral testimony must be on a matter that is on the board agenda. Therefore, as you begin your oral testimony, you should identify yourself and spell your name for the record. After 3 minutes, I will call time. You will have another 15 seconds to conclude your testimony. Please note that this opportunity is for you to communicate your concerns to us. If you ask questions during your oral testimony, neither the board nor staff is required to respond or answer your questions. Finally, for anyone wishing to submit written testimony, instructions for doing so are at the bottom of the front page of the agenda. Thank you for your cooperation in this matter.
Thank you, Francis. And thank you to everyone who already had submitted written testimony. The board received it. I will be taking oral testimony as each agenda item comes up. So moving on to item 4A, this is a discussion and possible action on requests for consent to the Ililani LLC license agreement for for the use of real property located at 606 Coral Street, aka 620 Coral Street, Kaka'ako, Kukui, Kaka'ako, Oahu TMK 121-051-018. And before the staff presents, I'd like to know if there's anyone that want to submit any public testimony at this time for this item.
Done.
Yes.
Chair. Stanford Carr here, STANFORDCARR, Stanford Carr Development, and co-general partner for Komahali LLC, for general partner of we're requesting the approval for this license to accommodate Ililani and their principal, Ken Chang, to develop the Ililani condominium complex, and they will need the use of what was formerly known as the Fiddlestick building, which is a future park amenity for the residents of Pahulani, in order for Hawaiian Dredging to efficiently build Ililani. They need the use of this site in order to set their tower crane deliveries and staging. So with that being said, I humbly request that the HHFDC board approve this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, Stafford.
I'd like to speak.
Sure, go ahead.
My name is William Ewan. I'm the attorney for Ililani. I believe Kenneth Chang, the principal of Ililani, is in the audience, and if so, he might want to add his comments. But Ililani is a 201H housing project that HHFDC has approved back in 2019. We are finally ready to start construction. I believe Hawaiian Dredging is on site now doing the foundation test, the excavation, and will be pouring foundation shortly. Ililani vitally needs this site to erect the tower cranes for the project and to use as a staging area. We hope that the delay of another 2 years will not significantly harm the Pohulani residents, but Ililani is willing to make the park improvements at the conclusion of its use of the project, and it would be vitally necessary to deliver another 197 affordable units to the people of Honolulu. I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Okay, William, thanks for your testimony. Is there anyone else that wants to submit testimony for this agenda item? All right, if not, is it Chris? Are you presenting?
Chair, yes.
Okay.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Pohulani is a mixed-use project that was completed in 1992 by HFDC and HCDA. HCDA owned the land at the time and conveyed it to HFDC upon completion of the project. It's where we are today. It's a 26-story project with 263 affordable rental units for the elderly and about 46,000 square feet of commercial space. When HFDC took title to Pohulani, it was subject to a non-conforming structure located on the 620 Coral Street parcel. And Stanford just mentioned it. It was the former site of the so-called Fiddlesticks building. So it's Coral Street, right across from Lex Brody's. The reason why the property was acquired subject to that non-conforming structure was that there was an existing lease to an entity called Anekona Hawaii that wasn't due to expire until July 1998. This project was developed under HCDA rules. There is an HCDA plan development permit, and under that permit, the structure that was on the open space parcel was to be demolished and converted into open space after that lease expiration. The development of the park was deferred for many years, but eventually HCDA did set a deadline of December 31st, 2018, for us to demolish the structure and clear the land. The Iligani developer actually came to us with a request back in 2018 for a 3-year revocable permit to use that parcel during the construction of their tower. At that time, as Bill Yuen just said, they're willing to do today. Iligani offered to build the open space park at no cost to HHFDC. However, we declined the offer. We cited the need to develop the park under the HCDA permit, and we were also undertaking the sale of Pohulani at the time, along with 5 other rental housing system revenue bond fund properties. We did demo the building on time, October 2018, in accordance with HCDA's deadline. Property was seeded with grass. We had a consultant, Bell Collins, that actually had completed construction drawings for the park based on a design that was approved by HCDA. 2019, we closed on the sale of Pohulani along with 4 other rental housing system properties. This first of 2 closings for that portfolio sale included the 2 Pohulani tower parcels, but excluded the Pohulani open space parcel. And that's because under the agreement we had with Komohale, the buyer, HHFDC was to develop that park using dwelling unit revolving funds and then convey it to an affiliate of Komohale upon completion via a long-term ground lease. So again, we withheld the parcel from the first closing. Second closing occurred in November 2020. That was the Kamakea Vista mixed-use project. And at Komohale's request and this board's approval, the Pohulani open space parcel was included in the Kamakea Vista transaction. We had hit a delay in the permitting. SHFD had comments on the archaeological inventory survey that a consultant to Bell Collins had completed. So we weren't, although we had construction plans, we had an invitation for bids ready to go. Because of the SHFD issue, we couldn't proceed with the development in 2020. So we did agree to convey 620 Coral parcel by a ground lease to Komohale. They agreed to construct the park, and in return for their agreement to do that, we provided a $391,000 closing credit, which based on a Bell Collins estimate was the amount of DERF funds that we had budgeted to construct the park. Under our agreement with Komohale, that park must be completed by May 4th of next year. And there's a $2,000 penalty each month if there are delays. The Iligani project, I think Bill may have just mentioned, closed on its construction financing recently. Stanford mentioned to you all that, you know, this topic, this item, it actually involves Ililani's request to use the open space parcel for the construction of their tower. Komohale has entered into a license agreement with Ililani LLC. That's attached as Exhibit G to the board materials. And under that license agreement, Ililani would have the right to use the parcel until as late as December 2024. They would construct the park at no cost to Komohale, whose obligation is to construct the park. And they would actually pick up the tab for the $2,000 per month penalties for delays in park completion. So the reason why we're taking this, we needed to take this to the board, is that the ground lease for the 620 Coral Street parcel is very specific as to the use, and that is for open space in compliance with the HCDA permit. So I don't know that it's written anywhere, but historically, any change in use under a long-term ground lease that the board has approved has to go back to the board for approval. So we have a few issues here. One is that we did provide a closing credit to Komohale when we signed that lease for 620 Coral. And yet Ililani has agreed to develop the park at their cost. We have probably close to 300 elderly tenants in this building who have been waiting for the park, asking about it. Now we're looking at another probably 2+ year delay. And we're concerned about the lack of a pickup drop-off area. Admittedly, it's been that way for a while. So there's a semicircular driveway on Coral Street for pickup drop-off, loading area, a few parking spaces. That's been closed. That's been closed since HHFDC demolished the Fiddlesticks building. We kept it closed because we thought we were ready to go on construction of the park. We had, like I said, we had construction plans done. We had an invitation for bids ready. And then we ran into the SHIP-D issue. We had actually planned to reopen the driveway. It was gonna basically drop gravel or another surface there to create sort of a short or an interim pickup drop-off area. Just so happens that around that time, I left HHFDC's employment for a while. Came back about a year later. And then we were focused on the Kamakea Vista sale. And like I said before, the 620 Coral parcel was included in that sale. So since the sale, the site has been used for construction, staging, material storage for Komohale's renovation of the Poholani Tower, which I believe is nearly complete. I think elevators or elevator modernization, probably one of the last items that they're working on. But with Ililani's use, we're going to have that pickup, drop-off, loading zone area closed for another probably 2+ years. That side of Coral Street, there's no parking, no standing, no loading. But that's what people are forced to do. So, I think should the board approve the change in use, so amending the ground lease to allow for Ililani's temporary two years so use for construction, I think we might want to consider how we can accommodate a pickup drop-off area for the elderly residents here, whether it's on that parcel or very close by within walking distance. I think that would be something to consider. So with that said, Chair, may I suggest that the board entertain a motion to enter into executive session to discuss this matter with the board's attorney?
Okay. So I guess,
I move that we go into executive session.
thanks,
And
Mike.
according to the board attorney.
Can I get a second?
Second, Don.
Thanks, Mel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Okay, but I think I gotta read this statement before we go into executive session. So the Board of Directors of Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation anticipates convening an executive session pursuant to section 92.5A4 Hawaii Revised Statutes to consult with the board's attorney on questions or issues regarding the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities as it relates to this matter. Okay, so thank you. Now we'll go into executive session.
Take that down.
All right, thank you, everybody. We are out of executive session. So we're in there for item 4A. At this time, we believe that we don't have enough information to take action on this item. There are some concerns or some questions that the board had and we wanted more information on. One being we want to see in an actionable plan that includes consultation with HCDA as far as their buy-off on the changes, consultation with the residents that perhaps has some solutions for the egress and ingress. And we kind of want a better sense of the consideration to the Poholani residents that was for this deal. So we'd like to work with staff and come back later. All right, so at this time, we're gonna take a short break, a 5-minute break. It's 10:25 right now, so we'll get back at 10:30.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Don, Stanford, Carr. Pardon me, I have a suggestion, which is, I've been waiting for you guys to come out of executive session to suggest a few things for consideration by the board. One is the 391,000, that's a stale number based on a few years ago pricing on the schematic drawings by Belt Collins. Secondly, Mr. Chang has had his challenges and delays over the last couple of years, and he now has a definitive schedule to break ground and his financing in place. We have been supporting and accommodating Mr. Chang because he's a local developer, Honolulu boy, and he's doing, a 201H affordable for sale for first-time home buyers, something that we always advocate before the different legislative bodies, whether it be council or the state legislature. So we want to support him. Now that he has a definitive schedule to start, we would like to work with him and Hawaiian Dredging to look at the schedule as to how soon we can access this site and not wait to the completion. Once the crane comes down and the staging area is no longer needed, we can start going in and making the improvements on this piece of property to deliver the park sooner. We would then commit to a definitive completion date for the park, and we would like to extend amend and extend the completion date with HFDC to avoid that $2,000 a month penalty, which is only adding to the costs of Mr. Chang's development, which is, the whole purpose is to develop affordable housing for first-time home buyers, and which is consistent with the mission of the state agency. So I asked for that consideration. We will also work with HCDA to get their consents with the modifications, and most definitely work and discuss this with the Poholani residents as we do. We have ongoing programs and resources for the residents of all of our properties. More recently, this past week, we had vision screening on all of the properties for all our residents to avail. So I agree. Maybe you're going to postpone this. We will be able to better apprise the board at the next meeting to update and provide a more definitive plan going forward so that the board can make an informed decision of what to take up for action.
all right, thanks. That was great information. Thanks, Sanford.
I've got to leave. I'm taking my daughter to different college campuses so she can decide where she wants to go and who I make wish and check out to.
Good luck.
All right, thanks. Take care.
All right, so we'll take a 5-minute break. Come back.
Yeah, hi. This is Ken Chang. I was not able to join the discussion earlier. We had a situation with a fire alarm at my location. So unfortunately, I was not able to speak earlier. I want to, again, thank Stanford, now he's left, for his very articulate discussion about where we stand. And I just want to say that the use of the site for our project is extremely important. Many different crane locations, logistics had been studied before, concluding that this is the right way. And we would certainly be happy to work with staff to address some of the issues that are still concerned. I understand that a drop-off issue during the construction phase is important, and I think we can sit down and work through what the possibilities of that are. All right.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll be back at 10:35. Thanks. All right, everybody. Thanks. It is 10:35. I see that everybody's back on, so we have quorum. So okay, moving on to item 4B. This information is on the draft annual action plan program year 2022, July 1st through June 30th, 2023. Is there any public testimony on this action item? No? All right, okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the board. My name is Carrie Higa, and I am a planner here at HHFDC. This for information item provides an overview of the draft annual action plan for program year 2022, covering the period from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. Under the 5-year consolidated plan, the annual action plan is an application for federal funding and a planning tool that projects the anticipated uses of funds received from HUD under the Home Investment Partnerships Program, National Housing Trust Fund Program, Emergency Solutions Grant Program, and Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS Program. Since the City and County of Honolulu receives its own allocation of funds, the state focuses its home, ESG, and HAPA programs on the counties of Hawaii, Kauai, and Maui, while HHFDC's HTF program serves all 4 counties in the state. The draft annual action plan was developed following a series of public hearings held in each county and consulting with HUD, county housing agencies, public and private service providers, and other government agencies. The draft plan is available for review by the public at the main and regional public libraries, county housing agencies, DHS, HPO, HPHA, HHFDC, and on the HHFDC website. Public comments will be accepted through tomorrow, April 15, 2022, and given consideration prior to finalizing the annual action plan. The HHFDC administers the home and HTF programs, and the Department of Human Services administers the ESG and HAPA programs. The purpose of these funds is to provide decent, affordable housing for families and special needs populations, strengthen communities, and increase home ownership opportunities. For program year 2022, HHFDC is eligible to receive approximately $3 million in home funding. Home funds are rotated annually among the neighbor island counties, and in program year 2022, the County of Kauai is scheduled to receive the allocation. The County of Kauai plans to utilize home funds toward the development of affordable rental units for families and seniors and increasing home ownership units. Under the National Housing Trust Fund Program, HHFDC is eligible to receive an allocation of approximately $3 million, which will be used also in the County of Kauai toward development of rental housing for extremely low-income families at the 30% area median income level. In the past, the HTF allocation was split between a neighbor island county and the City and County of Honolulu. Due to the city's challenges with administering the program, HHFDC has elected not to award them with HTF funds for program year 2022. As previously mentioned, the Homeless Programs Office of the state's Department of Human Services administers the Emergency Solutions Grant and HAPA programs. The state is eligible to receive approximately $450,000 in ESG funds, which will be used in the neighbor island counties toward homelessness prevention and rapid rehousing activities and for emergency shelter operations. Lastly, under the HAPA program, the state is eligible to receive an allocation of approximately $200,000, which will be used toward providing financial assistance and services to individuals with HIV or AIDS who are homeless and at risk of homeless. The Maui AIDS Foundation will serve as the centralized administrative agency to provide HOPWA-related activities in the counties of Hawaii, Kauai, and Maui. The actual fiscal 2022 allocation amounts are yet to be determined by HUD, and it is anticipated that the amounts will be announced on or around May 13th, 2022. The final action plan for 2022 will be presented to the HHFDC Board of Directors for approval at its next regular meeting following the release of the actual allocation amounts. This means that the plan submission may be delayed up to 60 days after the allocation amounts are announced. That concludes this for information item. I am available for questions.
Thank you, Carrie. Is there any questions from the board? Nope. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 4C. So this information on the issuance of a request for proposal for a residential development at the Village 9 or Village 8 9-acre parcel located in the villages of Kapolei, Oahu, TNK 191140159. Before staff presents, is there any public testimony for this agendized item? No? Okay, moving on.
Okay, we actually have a slide presentation.
Oh, okay.
Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. My name is Cheryl Kajitani. I'm a housing development specialist in HHFDC's development section.
My name is Claude Allen. I'm a project manager here at HHFDC's development section. HHFDC is seeking proposals from qualified developers to purchase and develop affordable housing on a vacant 9-acre parcel of land that's owned by HHFDC in the village of Kapolei and Village 8. The subject 9-acre parcel is outlined in blue on this slide. And you can see it's bounded by Kapolei High School, can be seen on the left or just west of the parcel. And the parcel is also bounded on the other three sides by Kapolei Parkway, Puainako Street, and Kamaha Avenue. The parcel is just a little bit over 9 acres. It's 9.15 acres, and it's zoned R 3.5 residential. This slide shows the parcel highlighted in yellow. HHFDC or its predecessor organization essentially got Village 8 back in 1990. And in December of 2004, HHFDC transferred a portion of Village 8 to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, DHHL, under a transfer agreement. During the transfer, the subject parcel was retained by HHFDC for future development. HHFDC owns this parcel in fee simple, and the parcel is non-ceded land and it is vacant. In the process of DHHL planning Village 8, HHFDC's 9-acre remnant parcel essentially became landlocked as vehicle access via Kapolei Parkway was not allowed, and there was no legal access to or from Puainako Street, which is actually owned by DHHL. This issue has subsequently been addressed, as we'll see here in a moment, and DHHL has agreed to grant access via Puainako Street. The parcel also did not previously have approval to connect to the city's sewer system. But earlier this year, in January of this year, HHFDC secured a sewer connection approval from the city for 70 single-family dwelling units. two RFPs have previously been issued for the development of this parcel, but unfortunately, no development contracts have been awarded, essentially because of the lack of the legal access to the site and the lack of sewer connection approval in the past. On March 8th, 2008, HHFDC issued a RFP to develop a mixed-use residential project on the parcel. But again, because the parcel lacked legal ingress and egress, HHFDC received no proposals at that time. November 6, 2013, an MOU was executed, Memorandum of Understanding was executed between HHFDC and DHHL, which allowed for an easement to access HHFDC's remnant parcel via Puinaco Street. The MOU also specified provisions for the installation of a traffic signal at the intersection of Kapolei Parkway and Puinaco Street. On September 30th, 2014, HHFDC issued an RFP for the development of an affordable single-family residential project on the parcel. At that time, HHFDC received two proposals, but again, no award was made, this time because of the lack of approval to connect to the city's sewer system. As mentioned earlier, HHFDC subsequently secured a sewer connection approval from the city for 70 single-family dwelling units earlier this year. And HHFDC is currently working with HHL to execute an access agreement to the parcel pursuant to the MOU.
Okay, so HHFDC is proposing to issue an RFP seeking a qualified developer to purchase a vacant 9-acre Village 8 parcel from HHFDC and develop an affordable for sale residential housing project on the parcel. HHFDC envisions a project that will provide financial gain to HHFDC, which will be used to support HHFDC's mission to increase the supply of affordable housing. The RFP calls for more than half of the housing unit to be priced and sold to households with income at or below 140% AMI. So the project for sale affordable units will be subject to a 10-year buyback restriction and HHFDC's shared appreciation equity program. So the selected developer would be responsible to make any roadway improvement to Puinaco Street that may be required by the city. The selected developer would also be responsible for installing a traffic signal at the intersection of Kapolei Parkway and Puinaco Street, pursuant to the November 16, 2013 MOU with DHHL. So the developer would be reimbursed for the cost of the traffic signal by DHHL. So the selected developer would be required to involve the community in the project planning, including the Makakilo Kapolei Neighborhood Board Number 34, the Villages of Kapolei Association, and other stakeholders. The project is expected to foster a distinctive and attractive community, embrace sustainability, and create conditions that encourage energy efficiency. So the next slide is the criteria for evaluation of the development proposal. And then this is the proposed RFP timeline. So HHFDC is planning to issue the RFP this month, and the proposal would be due in July of this year. Thank you for your time, and we are available for if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Claude. Is there any questions from the board?
I have a question. Sure. I just wanted to ask, is it pretty typical for I was just looking at the criteria for the evaluation for the time and budget requirements for that to be 5 points? Is that kind of standard out of the 100 to be on time and on budget?
For this criteria, we actually give more weight on the financial proposal.
Okay.
As you know, as you can see, it's 35 plus 5, so it's pretty much 40. Because we have to put more weight on the financial proposal because we already HHFDC already spent a lot of money developing, Apple A.
But also note that there are 25 points for qualifications, and really it offers qualifications that ensure that the project will be built in a timely manner.
Okay.
In many cases, we don't have really much control over the schedule and budget of the developer. We just have to rely on their qualifications with respect to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned in your presentation that you received approval from the city and county for a sewer line connection for 70 single-family dwellings. And with R 3.5 zoning, are you able to get that type of density? I'm not familiar with Oahu's zoning system, but are you able to get 70 units on this site potentially?
Our 3.5 zoning allows, it's a minimum lot size of 3,500 square feet.
Oh,
So
okay.
it is possible.
Okay.
Might also add that the developer, if they're able to get more than 70, they can certainly work with the city to do that. The 70 single family houses was done by the city based upon a calculation that they used. And it was essentially for 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, single family units. So, it could vary off to 70. The developer would need to work with the city to work out the calculation and get other approval if they go beyond that.
Okay, thank you for that. I also, just a follow-up question, looking at the criteria proposed for the RFP, do you think 10 points is enough to incentivize developers to do more than what you're calling out for in the way of affordables? As far as, the maximum of 10 points on that criteria? Is it weighted? Do you think it's adequately weighted to incentivize doing more, or do you?
Well, we did intentionally weight the financial proposal higher for this proposal as compared to our other RFPs. And many of our other RFPs, there is more of an emphasis on number of affordable units. However, for Village of Kapolei, as you're aware, we have expended tens of millions of dollars and continue to expend tens of millions of dollars for infrastructure development and maintenance.
Right.
So we're hoping to recoup at least a little bit of that expenditure from this RFP.
Okay. And then my last question on the criteria, the management proposal, what does that pertain to for a single family development?
It's really for the interim period while they own the land and the development property. And also, if they're going to turn it over to an association, if this,
Okay.
Yeah.
Understand.
Okay. So any other questions? All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item number 5, report by the executive director.
Morning, board members. This morning, I would like to introduce to you David Owe, if he can open his camera. There we go. David is going to become our new finance branch chief beginning in May. He joins HHFDC from Title Guarantee, where he was the assistant branch manager and escrow officer. And he's been dealing with real estate financial transactions for nearly 2 decades now. So I just want to welcome him to the HHFDC Ohana.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Very much look forward to working with all of you.
David, you want to share a little bit about yourself with the board?
Certainly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Denise. I've come over again from Title Guarantee, where I spent almost 20 years working in escrow, both on the commercial and residential resale side. I built many relationships with the state agencies through my work there, and as well as attorneys and private developers. And through my experience there, it's what really led me to want to come and work for the corporation, mainly because the mission of the corporation is something I care deeply about. And I am very proud to say that I work for HHFDC and want to do my best to continue its mission and help the state of Hawaii and its people as much as I can. So thank you very much, everyone, for this opportunity.
David, we're so happy that you're joining us.
Thanks, David.
Thank you as well.
The directors, you have my report. I'm sorry, Mike, you have a question? So directors, you have my report. Just want to highlight, because it is legislative session and the bills are getting ready to go to conference, a few key bills for you. Two of them are on the Senate, our Senate bills. One in particular, Senate Bill 3048, will provide huge support for HHFDC. This bill in particular will help transfer the excess historical tax exempt funds. I believe it's up to 45 million sitting in the rental housing revolving funds that have not been able to be used, to transfer it to DERF so that it can be used for our infrastructure obligations, particularly in Waihole Valley and in the villages of Kapolei. Along with that, this bill invests, I believe, up to $1.5 million in investments in HHFDC, particularly in IT hardware and software, and then even upgrading the console in that boardroom so that it can facilitate hybrid type meetings that involve both in-person and virtual transmissions. So the other important aspect of this bill is, I believe there's almost $300,000 in software appropriations. One that would provide automated tracking of our 700 ground leases and over 2,000 units under the Shared Appreciation Equity Program. So these, this particular provisions of this bill is particularly beneficial to HHFDC, and we're hoping that it makes it out of conference. The other bill, Senate Bill 2372, offers a new program called the DERF Equity Program, which is really the brainchild of our development branch chief, Dean Minakami, and working with the legislature. So I just want to recognize Dean for his out-of-the-box thinking there to address really an area for moderate income working families, an opportunity for them to own a home. This would actually help the developer buy down the cost for developing affordable for sale homes in that area. There is, of course, a bill to make a significant infusion. I think it's like 300 million in rental housing revolving funds. That, of course, is always needed. Another bill, it looks like was resurrected. It's a House bill. I think it's 2513 that serves to create gap financing for moderate income households. So these are the households from about 60 to 100% AMI. and will help spur the development of mixed income projects. We believe also that this will help address some of the out-migration between this and the DERF equity programs, will help address the out-migration of our workforce. Before I go to Director Becker's favorite bill, I would also like to bring up, there's 3 governor's messages for our board nominees. I believe the Senate confirmation is this afternoon, so I want to wish Director Mackler good luck with his confirmation here. The 2 other governor's messages are for Jay Kimura and also Jason Bradshaw. So best of luck to you all. And now our private activity bond bill, I shouldn't say ours, it's the legislature's bills. The bill has gone through significant iterations, and I believe right now it's at the point where it's retaining most of its original language. Counties all retain their bond cap. The difference with this is that there is a moratorium for several years on the issuance of new SPURBs, and also a reporting requirement for the counties. There was some strong opposition from the city in particular to the frequency of the current reporting. So the Senate wanted to work with the city to compromise on that. So that explains the frequency that is now, and I think the SD2 version of the House bill on that. And it also mandates that the private activity bonds can only be used for housing by the city. So I will stop there and open it up for questions.
Any questions?
I mean, I understand the bills a little bit, but I hope the board does too. See, the various drafts of these bills are designed to limit use of private activity bond cap for purposes other than housing. And that cap is used largely by HHFDC to issue its bonds on behalf of borrowers. And, these bills are going to limit the ability of other borrowers to access those funds, right? So I think in supporting these bills, HHFDC is, taking on a lot of responsibility to make sure that cap is not wasted, yeah? And I just want to make sure the board understands that and supports that. And part of the other provisions of these bills, which are new, are reporting requirements of the counties to HHFDC on the use of their cap. And so, that is, I don't understand that, to be honest, because HHFDC does not manage the state's bond cap. And I'm not sure to what extent, on top of being responsible, taking much more responsibility that cap does not get wasted, does the board want oversight on how other counties are using what is statutorily their cap? Yeah, so I just want to make sure that the board understands what it's taking on and that it supports doing all of that. Yeah, so Denise, those were my kind of concerns that I just wanted to make sure that the board understood.
So let me just respond to some of those comments. One is, I think the latest version copied what the prior version had and just adding HHFDC to getting the information. My understanding is the point of adding HHFDC was just so that the counties share the information, not that HHFDC would be managing the cap at all.
So I think the report to BNF would have accomplished that already. Once the information's provided to BNF, and anyone can request copies of public documents, but putting that in the bill appears to insinuate that there's some sort of oversight by HHFDC over the counties, I think, but that's just what it looks like to me.
The county haven't indicated any concerns with an impression of oversight by HHFDC.
And you're correct, Denise. The current version is we just get a copy, we get the report at the same time BNF gets a report. The reporting requirement itself doesn't change.
Okay, and the other significant provision of those bills is that it would disallow the authorization of the legislature to make authorizations for special purpose revenue bonds, right? So we are, if HHFDC is supporting this, is supporting like disallowing future authorizations for many other important uses. And, we are saying that we are the top priority and we are going to make full use of the cap, right? So just want to, again, hope, of course, I'm sure we all hope we don't waste the cap, but we're taking that on as an agency, right?
If I could just add a few more comments to that. Our portion, or the state's portion of the 320 or 30 million is about 167 million. The remainder goes to the counties. Honolulu City and County gets the lion's share of about 125 million. Right now, we have bond requests for about $750 million. We at best get 167 million, the entire state cap plus whatever remains. As far as the SPURBs go, my understanding, and Rod, you correct me if I'm wrong, the main other user would have been Hawaiian Electric. And my understanding in talking to the Budget and Finance Director is that HECO has their approved or appropriation or allocation, I'm not sure what the correct term is, for the next several years. And that's already grandfathered in. So
there's about 1.5 billion in existing authorizations, not necessarily all for HECO, but those wouldn't be affected.
Thank you, Chris. And that Hawaiian Electric's share, or whatever the SPURB that they had asked for, is already grandfathered in. And that he also recognized that LIHTC is the only use that provides the type of leveraging of the bond cap. And this is why, he agreed and supported this for the next, I think it's 5 years as a pilot, just to support housing.
Yeah, so, again, sorry, I'm just trying to make sure the board understands what it is supporting and what it's getting involved with. Yeah. And, I just hope like the board, there's a lot of stuff going out there and, supporting legislation like this, I just feel like the board should understand what the bills do and what we as an agency are doing out there to change the law, to direct things and how things are overseen. Yeah. So, that's mostly what I was getting at. So.
Thanks, Rod. That's good information.
Hey, the only other thing I wanted to point out, and I may have pointed this out already, but just so you all know, we already reached our cap on the conveyance taxes. So that $38 million cap was achieved, I believe, the last quarter of last year. So no more infusions via the conveyance tax because we already have achieved that.
And may I just say one thing too. I think we have to also, as a board, just pay attention to the staff's ability to execute and whether Denise has enough staffing and enough people to, meet the future demand that's coming that way. So I think we need to be cognizant of that to make sure that that's in place as well. The mechanism to deliver on the capacity of what's going to be taken on.
I totally agree. And that is one of the points, right? With all of these, like the last board meeting, how many extensions were approved, how many closings get delayed, like how much capacity does the agency have to close on these deals? Yeah. And we need to, if these laws are changed to benefit the agency, we need to make sure that we're able to execute, like Mike was saying.
Thank you. Yes, comments well noted. And one of the bills in working with the legislature this year, we were able to get 2 more positions, I believe, in one of these bills, particularly in the finance unit. So if there's no other questions, that concludes my report. I want to thank the board for their continued support. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thanks. If there's nothing else, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Don.
Thanks, Mel. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good luck, Gary.
Yep. Good luck, Gary.
I need it. Don't forget your popcorn. Okay.